Hello, this is Ashley here. I am going to show you today a great example lesson for what you could do if you want to get started on Outschool and you want to teach a math class. So this is one of my very first lessons that I ever taught 2 years ago, and it's nothing fancy. You could do something similar, and it's just really simple. I could even feel confident sharing using this one today if I wanted to. So let me go ahead and put this in present mode and I'll walk you right through it and my ideas behind kind of why I chose to do what I did with this lesson. So just to start out, you don't need anything fancy. I like to just have something, just a title to say what it is you're going to be teaching them about. So in this case, it was multiplication using the strategy of repeated addition. Very simple. And I made this in Canva, and you can do that too. You can get a free account with Canva, or you can use Canva Pro, which I use. It's about $14 a month, but it's so worth it. I use it for the public school, Outschool, everything I do in life. But anyways, so after saying hello to the students and bringing them into the classroom, as some of the other students are still trickling in, we always go to a get to know you slide like this. And I always keep it really simple, just two questions on there, something fun you did, and what's the weather. Now the reason for this is because these are really easy questions for students to answer, whether they are an English language learner or not, and whether they are shy or not. So if somebody doesn't really want to participate that much, by the time you get to the weather one and pretty much everybody's shared what their weather is like, most kids feel comfortable at least saying, oh, it's sunny today or it's cold or something like that. So we got the title slide, you've got the get to know you slide, and then we go into the lesson. So just like you would see kind of in a classroom in a public school, you have like a learning objective, except if you are anything like me, you probably don't really love like some of the parameters around learning objectives that you see in the public school. So I just keep it short and simple and easy for them to understand. We're going to learn what is repeated addition, how do we write it, and then how can we apply this to a multiplication word problem. Super simple. We don't really go into any details over it. I just say it as quick as that and we move right along. Now this part right here is kind of like my hook. I call it my what do you notice activity. I don't call it a hook. I don't call it an activating strategy because I don't feel like going into the whole explaining to the students or to the families what exactly that terminology means. It doesn't really always make sense to them. So I just call it what do you notice or what do you see. And this is a really easy way for students to start to become comfortable in the classroom because they're just saying what they see. And there's really no wrong answer. So some kids might even say, I see yellow fish. That's correct. There are yellow fish here. Some of them might start to notice how many groups there are, that there's the same number in each group. They might start to connect it to addition, counting up the fish, or they might even start to connect it to a multiplication equation, which is great. So I try to kind of lead them through there and kind of stop this slide once we've reached to, oh, hey, we can connect this to multiplication. And of course, this is going to have something to do with what we're learning about today, which is repeated addition. And some of them might even know about repeated addition, and they might even make that connection already on this slide. So after that, I go into, well, what is the skill? What is repeated addition? And I kind of talk over, this is kind of like a mini anchor chart. It gives them a visual, an explanation, and a little something to base the rest of the lesson off of. So after that, we're going to go into, this is kind of like the teacher model part. I'm going to show them how exactly you would write repeated addition. So in this case, we've got 6 fish in 4 different groups. So we might do 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6, or 4 added together 6 times. And I would show them going step by step slowly through both of those equations and telling them about how it's really cool in multiplication that you've got some choices. You could add 6's together or you could add 4's together. So as another part of the teacher model, we've moved from looking at pictures and trying to make an equation for them to now we've got the equations, okay, cool, but how in the world are we going to make this into repeated addition? So I'll show them 2 different problems, how I write it in repeated addition, and how I solve it all the way to the end. If there's a lot of students who seem to understand and most of them seem to grasp it, I might let them help me out a little bit with the model, but I do usually reserve this time for it to be just about me. And I say, I'm the star of the show. This is all about me. I'm going to model right now. After that, they know that they're going to be able to try it out themselves. Sometimes students might be really shy, and this might be a place where I just model some more if nobody wants to volunteer. I never make anybody volunteer to solve a problem. And sometimes I even say, all right, is there any brave people out there who would like to try one of these problems to tell me what I need to write in order to solve it? And somebody might volunteer, and maybe they even get to choose one of these problems. So we do, usually I have a few pages of that, and then we go into word problems. And the way that I build this is called the gradual model of release. So it's supposed to be super high support with that teacher model at the beginning, a little bit less support with that collaborative practice in the middle, and then now we're getting into the part where it looks bigger because it's word problems to them, but they're going to see that, hey, they can do these problems completely on their own or almost completely on their own. So what I do is I model reading the word problem, picking out the numbers, and then starting to use the strategy, repeated addition for 6 times 12. I'll go all the way through the problem, and then we'll go on to the next one where they get to try it out themselves. So what I normally do for these slides, for the word problems, is I read the word problem for the kids. Then what I do is we pick out the numbers together, we write the equation, and then what I say for Outschool is I say, all right, you're going to try your best for about 2 minutes to solve this problem, and I'm going to turn off my voice, and you can only communicate with me through the chat. If you think you get the answer, put it in the chat, and I'll message you back if you got it correct. If you get stuck or if you didn't get it right, I'll also be there to help you in the chat. And we try to keep everybody's mics off, absolutely nobody talking, so that people can really think. Sometimes I have to explain that to them because sometimes people try to like unmute themselves, but it's usually not a big issue. The whole way of using the chat too is really helpful at this time because this is a way where you can differentiate extremely easily. Kids who need more time are going to be given the whole time to work on this problem. Kids who need almost no time to do that can tell you the answer real quick. You can say correct, and then you can give them a challenge problem, an additional problem. So maybe like 7 times 21. And they can be working on that while the other people still have the adequate amount of time that they need to try to work through the problem. It's also good too because kids who have a lot of trouble with math often will have a parent sitting nearby them and they're on mute. So then they're having a one-on-one helper with them for that whole 2 to 3 minutes that you're giving them. When that time's up, what I say is, all right, at this point, if you want to share your answer out loud, you totally can. You don't have to if you don't want to. Usually a lot of them will want to share out. And I don't say yet that whether it's correct or not. Now, most of them probably know if it's correct or not because they've told me in the chat already, but I just kind of play along with it. Then after everybody has offered up their answers, what we do is we go all the way through it, and I might even have one of them help me out with it, kind of modeling their thinking, and they can explain to us how they solved the problem. So we do a few slides of that, usually about 3 problems, and then we come to this activity, which is still a fan favorite. Sometimes I have a hard time squeezing it all the way in, which is fine, they understand, but they really like it. So what I tell them is, you've been doing all the hard work as the student, now it's my turn as the teacher to do some hard work. So you're going to make a word problem for me. So I give them 3 minutes, I turn off my voice, I play classical music on my phone, I set a timer, and they are either typing in the chat or they're writing or drawing a picture of what they want their word problem to be on a whiteboard or on a piece of paper. When the 3 minutes is up, then one at a time they can share out their word problem and I can try to solve it here on the screen on the next slide over. So I'll either, if they put it in the chat, I'll copy it from the chat and paste it right on there using the annotate tool. Or if they didn't, they can just read it out loud to me and I can kind of write down the multiplication equation as I hear them reading it aloud. Sometimes students are not quite sure how to make specifically a multiplication problem, and sometimes they'll give you an addition or a subtraction or a division problem instead. And I just kind of play along with it and say, oh, I really like this problem. It looks like this one's a subtraction problem. Let's go ahead and solve it. And I just kind of try to give them credit for making a word problem by themselves, because that can be really hard for students. And then this is our final activity. Everybody loves this activity. What I do is I write like initial the first initial of each student's name here up on the board with the annotate tool. And then I say, okay, I've got a dice on my phone. I've got a free dice app on my phone. I'm going to roll it for each person 2 times. You can multiply those 2 numbers together, and whatever your answer is, whoever has the largest answer or the largest product is the champion for today. This is a great activity that they love too. If you have a lot of extra time, you can fill up that extra time with doing more and more rounds to see who's the ultimate champion. So like best 2 out of 3 or something like that. They absolutely love it. Then we come to the end and I wrap it up nicely with this. I say there's an extra practice worksheet. You can use it if you have time. If you don't have time, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I know some families are busy. Some teachers want kids to turn stuff in, but I find that it's just easier for me as the teacher and for them to just remove that pressure. And then I tell them what's coming up next. In this case, the next lesson for this one was multiplication with arrays. But that's the whole entire lesson. So this is the exact same format, just a little bit better graphics that I still use today, and this is like my best-selling class, so this is a great example. Now, if you really like this and you would like a more jazzed up version of this lesson and you feel like you could teach a 3rd grade math lesson like a multiplication lesson, you can go ahead and check out my TPT store. I'll have a link down below for that where you can get this exact same one, and it will also come along with the description or for the listing so that it does all the work for you. So if you're somebody who's wanting to get started with Outschool, but you're like, okay, I got hired, but I really don't know how to write a class listing that's going to get passed, and then I can start teaching, and then what do I even teach? What are the materials? This removes all those barriers for you. So I give you copy and paste the lesson listing or description. You've got the slides right here, or a more jazzed up version over there, and you're ready to go. All you have to do is click start class and start teaching on Zoom. All right, thank you so much. I'll see you later. Bye.